Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
Forgive me. I have a hard time remembering that Italian gibberish.
One of the most beloved characters in gaming history. Or is he? Lately I've noticed some viewers calling Ezio a Gary Stew, the male equivalent of a Mary Sue. But here's the thing, Ezio is far from perfect. In fact, it's his flaws, his mistakes, his questionable choices, and his losses that make him such a compelling and relatable character. According to Wikipedia, the most trusted brand in truth, a Mary Sue is a type of fictional character, usually a young woman who is portrayed as free of weaknesses or character flaws. The character type has acquired a pejorative reputation in fan communities, with the label Mary Sue often applied to any heroine who is considered to be unrealistically capable. But is that really Ezio? I have gathered evidence from his trilogy and the Embers short film to provide proof to the contrary. In this video, I'll explain why Ezio isn't just not a Gary Stew, but why his imperfections as a person make him a perfect character. My first and best piece of evidence is the explosion and consequential ruining of Cappadocia. In an attempt to stop the Byzantine threat in Cappadocia and rid the world of another Templar, Ezio infiltrated the weapons depot and blew up a large stockpile of gunpowder. This set off a huge explosion which caused chaos and terror for the citizens and soldiers of Cappadocia. There was a lot of damage done, and huge dust clouds consumed the cave city. Many people will have died and been injured in this explosion designed to flush the Templars out. A lot of these examples come from Revelations because Ezio was older now and beginning to tire of his profession. Old Man Ezio is my favorite version of Ezio because he is so flawed. This explosion is the perfect example of him caring less and less for the Creed and for his mission. He simply wants to accomplish his task and move on. Obviously, Ezio doesn't want innocents to suffer. He doesn't revel in their pain. However, in this moment, he doesn't think much about the consequences of his actions and in the process hurts and kills many innocent people. As Ezio escapes from the dust-filled caves, we see many soldiers and residents coughing and dying. Ezio does not stop to help anyone. He runs to his ship and escapes back to Constantinople. Immediately once on his ship, you are put into an Altair memory, but once you're out of that, Ezio is shown writing to Claudia. He doesn't even mention the poor people of Cappadocia, only his beloved Sophia and how she is in danger. I don't think these are the actions of a perfect character, one who has no flaws and is universally liked. In this instance, Ezio did the wrong thing and never showed remorse of any kind. He completed his task, retrieved the Masyaf key, and got out with no concern for how he accomplished this task. Not to mention, this is against two of the tenets of the Creed. He hurt innocents, and he did not hide in plain sight. Ezio is often shown to ignore the Creed and the teachings of Altair, as we will see as we progress onto other evidences. All the way back in AC2, Ezio gets revenge on Vieri. We see the young Ezio yell and curse at him in the death corridor, and then shake the dead man violently. Mario attempts to calm him, and Ezio responds with a fiery reply.
Enough, Ezio! Show some respect.
Respect? After all that's happened, do you think he would have shown either of us such kindness?
You are not Vieri. Do not become him.
The more mature and battle-hardened Mario teaches Ezio a very good lesson, that just because your enemy would do something does not mean you should. Ezio immediately takes this lesson on board, showing respect to the dead in most of his other assassinations. If a character was a Gary Stew, they would have no need for lessons, they would not need to learn morals or to be schooled on etiquette. The fact that Ezio can change and become a better person is what makes him great, and this fundamentally requires him not to be perfect in the first place. We know Ezio was a bit of a spoilt rich kid, but he grows and changes into a better version of himself. Enjoying the video? Do me a favor and smack that like button. It helps out so much. Thanks. Now when it comes to Cristina, there are a few instances where Ezio is less than an ideal citizen. Firstly, he follows her home after being rejected when his smooth talk utterly fails to seduce her. That's kinda creepy. And where Cristina is concerned, Ezio never really learns his lesson. This shows us Ezio is human. We have all done dumb things for love. It makes us do insane things at times. This is another reason why he is a perfect character. He is flawed, he isn't perfect, and we see that in his future interactions with Cristina. Ezio returns to Firenze after 2 years and finds out she's engaged to marry. He saves her fiancé from some gambling debts and then proceeds to passionately kiss Cristina before leaving quickly, confusing Cristina in the process. Obviously, this isn't great, but it could be worse. However, the next time he meets her is where he truly does something morally bad. 8 years later, Ezio is in Venice and discovers Cristina is attending the carnival. Ezio poses as her husband and again kisses her in an alleyway. Once discovered, Cristina is rightfully angry and tells him to never find her again.
Ezio? What the hell are you doing here? How dare you?
Cristina, it's all right.
All right? I haven't seen you in 8 years.
See, I was afraid you wouldn't come if I just asked.
You're right. I wouldn't have. Ezio, the last time I saw you, you kissed me in an alley and then left me behind to be married.
It was the right thing to do. He loved you.
Who cares what he wanted? I love you. You had your second chance. Please, Ezio, don't ever find me again.
These encounters are all pretty bad. They aren't great and not what a perfect human being would do. I could rest my case here, but I won't because I'm that kind of person. I'm going to annoyingly provide more evidence. In the Embers short film, Xiaojun comes from China seeking advice on how to lead and rebuild her order. Ezio is immediately dismissive and wants no part of it. It's only a little thing, but Ezio is not the same person from the games. He is much closer to how he is at the very end of Revelations, but just further gone. He is paranoid and absent-minded. He is not the man he once was. This is the perfect character writing, as this seems like a very logical place for this character to end up after everything he went through and endured. But it shows his imperfections. He no longer wants to help the Brotherhood or be involved at all. He does not want to risk anything to help others. A Gary Stu would stand up and rebuild the Chinese order all by himself. I just don't agree that he's a Gary Stu. Ezio is clearly very flawed and an interesting character, but he has also grown. He is a father and realizes his previous life is a risk to them. He is reluctant to help because of this. Eventually he does and shows us the real Ezio inside. A couple more things from Revelations here. Number 1, he accidentally kills Tarek, who is actually innocent. Obviously a big mistake. He took the life of a man that was actually attempting to do the same thing he was. Tarek was going to lead an assault on the Templars in Cappadocia, which would have maybe avoided the awkward event I talked about at the very beginning. Ezio destroys the Great Chain in Constantinople, allowing him to sail out of the city. However, the chain is protecting the harbor of Constantinople from attack, which would leave the city wide open. He also riles up a crowd to start a riot of sorts so he can break into the arsenal, getting members of the public killed in the confrontation. None of these are perfect actions of a Gary Stu or someone who is infallible. Another few quick things before I sign off. Ezio is associated with thieves. He works with them on many missions. He also steals and pickpockets himself. As a young man, he was irresponsible and brash. He also very often ignores the creed of the assassins, doing things that could jeopardize the Brotherhood, hurt innocents, and often does not strike from the shadows. Just thought I'd point those out. Ezio is clearly not a flawless human or assassin. He makes mistakes, puts others at risk for his own gain, and ultimately does things that are immoral. He was, however, a fantastic character who I fell in love with all those years ago. A character whose imperfections shine through as he does his best to better the world. An interesting, funny, and charming man who doesn't always get it right. I think I have demonstrated that Ezio is not by any stretch of the imagination a Gary Stu, and I think we can put all that silly talk to bed. If you enjoyed the video, why not subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content? Thanks to everyone who got this far, and for my one and only patron, Alex Applegate. You're amazing. Catch you all in the next one. Sticks out.